Okay. Okay. This should not take too long. I don't have a whole lot to go over, but we'll start with the minutes from July 7th. Someone wants to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes of July 7th, 2020 as written.
Second.
Silence denotes a consent.
That's what I always say. That's what I always say. Okay. We talked about the memorial donation program the last time. I went through and tried to start sort of identifying some things. There's so many out there. It's kind of hard to figure. So, and I'm sorry, I meant to print this out in color and I just forgot.
It looked really good in the online packet.
Yeah. But to me, for the most part, really, any of these styles would kind of be acceptable, but I would like to narrow it down to 2 or 3. Currently, what we have kind of throughout Stephen Decatur Park are the more, well, they're very old, a lot of the ones that are there now.
Yeah.
They have the concrete, actually the ones in Stephen Decatur Park are, I think, 12 feet long. So they have concrete on either end and then a concrete in the middle.
Right.
So there are a couple of that style. Of course, there's none that are exactly like that anymore, but down at the bottom. Do you have a preference for whether it's recycled material, has a back, if it's, you know, there's so many different things that what I thought might be easier than trying to pick out a few styles is, it's not like we get these kind of requests every day anyway.
No.
So if the person says, this is what I like, then we can say yay or nay and go from there. But to me, that just seems a little bit easier. So then when we get back to what the pricing is that I have on here, the prices that are listed are kind of, these would be the minimum, but then depending on the cost of the actual bench, it would be whatever the cost of the bench is plus $200.
Right.
I just have a question. If, you know, someone gets one, wouldn't they then have to be consistent, like we get all the same type of bench?
Not necessarily. If we were trying to do something, I think like they do, you know, lining the boardwalk, that would make a little more difference. But with the parks, they're just sort of scattered. So and of course, at the end of the day, the person would come and say, this is what they want, and you would have the final say on whether it was an acceptable design or not.
I feel like they should all.
Okay, I mean,
And then
that's
also,
certainly.
because we're a Victorian town, I like recycled products, and but it would be nice to have still a historic look, just because of the age of the town.
Then is there a particular design?
Yeah, we were good just discussing the heritage.
That's what I was just thinking. I was gonna say, top
Top
row, third one.
Tell me about
Well,
where
that
it
was
is.
easy.
That's the third one.
Okay, yeah, actually, that was one of the ones that jumped out at me.
Yeah, that looks like.
Traditional
I
bench.
think that looks like it would fit into our parks.
They're in the
Okay.
park bench.
Yeah, and it does, it looks like it's our style. Are we going to just determine a length of I mean, a 12-foot bench is just too long.
Yeah,
From
it's-
what we've realized.
They
It's
are,
just-
yes, they are very long. Of course, you know, as I say, those benches are very old.
Oh, yeah,
They've been there 40 years probably.
oh, easily.
Easily.
Oh, easily.
And so if you're using the composite recycled material, things are constructed a little bit better. I mean, those were wood planks and concrete
I know.
sides, so.
And now I know we do have some of those benches in Stephen E. Pater Park that are in pretty bad disrepair. Are they going to be removed, or do they remove them as the
They
things
remove
fall
them as
apart?
they become
Unusable.
irreparable.
Yeah,
Yeah, irreparable.
yeah,
They remove them, but other than that.
okay, so we're still,
And, you know, maybe it's something at some point we can look at doing a more comprehensive,
It would be
remove the old and replace
that would be a
them.
good, goal,
Yeah,
You know.
there is one that's completely like bent over on the right back by 113, like,
yeah, and that's, yeah. those
somebody's
are-
done it, I mean, it's damaged, it's not
Okay.
like, it wore out, someone looks like abused it.
Oh, yes.
Probably, yeah, if people make it their goal to break, so. Is that the only style that you want to, the reason I ask that is this, because if, for instance, someone were to want to purchase a bench to sit right next to the basketball courts, for instance, one of the ones in the next row down might be more appropriate,
Yeah.
because they go with more with what is out there now. So, you know, I don't know if you want to go ahead and select a different style, or just, you know, be open to that should it become a,
Well, I see you also
Possibility.
have the small child's bench and things like that, you know, things that, are going to be a little bit different.
yes,
I
yes.
think, you know, I think it really depends on the placement of it. I think you're right, this
Mhm.
bench that we're looking at might not be appropriate for the, basketball courts. And you do want something that is easy with all the sports equipment and people, that maybe, you know, I don't think we need one with a back, but, you know, for around, I don't know, what's better for sports things? I'm
Well,
just not
there
aware.
are, players' benches in place at the basketball court.
Okay,
So, to me, another bench would be more for a spectator.
so you would want a back on
Yeah,
it?
so I think a back would maybe be more
Okay,
appropriate,
yeah.
if that's the direction someone wants to go.
I think that you make a very good point.
So why don't we do this then? We'll say that the heritage is sort of the, benchmark.
Right. Ah, very funny.
And then, but beyond that, you know, if someone was looking at a more specific location, then we might go in a different direction. And I can put some wording in there. I don't feel like we should make it something where people feel so constrained, you know what I mean? And again,
We can
it's
make
not
this a-
like people are asking about this all the time.
We can make this a
Change over time.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can make this a suggestion,
Yeah.
that, you know, at this time, this is what we're looking to do, or whatever,
Okay.
and upon discussion, there might be something better out there.
Okay.
Who
And
knows?
have
Well, what
language
I'll do
that
then-
fits in with the heritage of the town.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because,
the town, the
you know, what
history.
the goal that you point out is that we just want it to look nice.
And
We
we
want it,
want it to fit.
we want it to fit, be, you know, appropriate for its surroundings.
Yeah. Because obviously the child's bench, you know, you can get into benches that are similar to those in that second row, but then they'll have, you know, ABC etched into the back or whatever.
All of those
So
kinds
they're
of
more,
things.
yeah.
Right.
So why don't we say then that the heritage and the, well, I don't know what the difference between the two Ultra E series is really.
I guess color?
Maybe, it's hard to say.
It is.
But we'll sort of
bench with the
select
back.
those as kind of the minimum standards.
Right, okay,
And then go from there. Okay.
well done.
Oh, that ended up easy. Yeah.
I like these kinds of decisions.
Yeah. And then other than that, pretty much any suggestions that we may have discussed at the last, meeting, I already incorporated. If there really even were any, I can't really recall. I think the main thing was to select sort of a style.
I'm looking at these benches on the back though.
Mhm.
I-
Oh, that's right, I forgot those, stuff in the back too, yeah. Well, these are
The
picnic tables or
table,
bike racks.
The picnic tables and the bike racks,
Mhm.
but I will always go for a welded piece over a bolted piece. That's just always, so my choice would be going for Park Master, because
Okay.
I like welded better than bolts.
Okay, that is a good point.
I just knew we didn't want the wood.
Yes, definitely not the wood.
Right.
Yeah, the composite has its drawbacks. It can be very heavy. That can be a good thing.
Yeah.
But it can also tend to warp. And, you know, unlike wood, you can't just rip a plank out and replace it. It's not quite as easy to do. So, okay, then, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot completely about the back of this.
When you look at the welded one that you said, it looks like underneath there is a frame as support.
Yeah,
So that speaks well to that model, from what you were saying about.
yeah.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
And, you know, any of these, I really didn't specify the length because they usually have a variety. You can go 4, 6, 8, 12, you know, so that's something that just gets into pricing now, really. Bike racks. A couple of my personal observations, opinions on bike racks. I do not like the ground loop. I included it here, but I don't care for it because to me it's a tripping hazard. If someone's not paying attention,
Right.
you know, or they're in the park at night, they shouldn't be, but if they are, it's a tripping hazard. That's the kind of thing that might be okay if you could put it right up against a building, say, but if it's out in the open, which in the park it would be, it's not so good. The third one on that same row, the very last one, that very boxy one,
Yeah.
we have a couple of those now. I don't like them, I never have. I just think that they're a little too utilitarian looking. And then of course you can get into some much fancier things. Another alternative that the city of Salisbury did, and this would be on obviously a very case-by-case basis, if the donor wanted to commission an artist to make one, we could certainly consider that.
Wow.
They have
We have
custom-made ones all over Salisbury, and there's some really neat ones. The one at Evo is like a beer barrel, you know, there's some nice looking ones.
They put one in front of the museum.
Yes.
So if you wanna see the kind of thing that, you know, that is possible, somebody had made one and they didn't really have another place to put it, so we were glad to have a bike rack at the museum, so.
Is it with the anchor?
Yes.
I like that,
Yeah, that was the one, I guess it was beside the where the butcher shop is, it was down there for
I
a
think
while.
so. I
And they
think
moved
so.
it, yeah, so that's the kind of thing, but there's also, you know, having plenty of good sturdy things that can't be destroyed, there's a lot to be said for that too.
Yes, yeah.
You know, so.
And to Bruce's suggestion at the last meeting regarding the bicycle fixing stations, there's a wide variety of those with a price range, you know, from here to whenever. So that would be something that would be more on a kind of a case-by-case basis. Rather than trying to pick one, because the prices range so much, it might be something someone wants to do, but you don't want to offer them an option that's gonna be, you know, out of their range.
These just sound like wonderful opportunities for like a bike club, and, you know, there are a couple of groups of bicyclists around here.
Serious groups that come through town.
Well,
They stay at the Atlantic
Yeah.
several times a year.
it would be a wonderful thing if we could, you know, somehow get them to inadvertently sponsor it, you know, over time. I don't know, that's something to think about, you know, fundraising.
When they're
After
in
you
town,
buy
we
the
could
bikes,
have
you
some
buy the
kind
toys.
of.
Yes, we could put a great little, well, you know,
Flyer.
we could sell, you know, the Seagull Century comes through here, we could sell a Berlin bike sticker or something like that, I don't know what a bicyclist like, I have no idea, I think they don't sew patches on.
I was saying we should just have a flyer about how we would accept,
So it'd be like a virtual sticker.
Not many in the Seagull stop in town, the others do.
Yeah.
The Seagull,
They did the 1 year because it happened on the same day that they had
they came through.
Oktoberfest.
Car show went into it.
Yeah, I know my niece did it that year and she decided when she got to Berlin that, yeah, she'd gone far enough.
I like
Just
to
as
see.
good of a place to stop as any.
Right.
attractions.
So anyway, without actually selecting a specific design, to my thinking, the first two on the second row are more, I think, the type that we would go for. That's the Sunrise or the Windsor.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that there's a variety of widths. It would make it, for different kinds of bicycles, or just give a little more, option to space your bicycle.
Right. Okay,
Moving right along.
moving right along, exactly. So the only other thing, we talked about the community parks and playgrounds application. I just wanted you to have a copy of what was, there's a lot more to the grant application than this one page, don't I wish? But, just to have an idea of what the final, application looked like.
Oh, for the permanent restrooms?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask about that, cause that would be so nice. If we
It-
could, so we're just getting a grant, applying for
We're
it?
trying to, yeah.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, it really would be nice to have public, permanent, the bathroom over at Henry Park is so easy. You can get, the water, things like that. It's just easy to use. I was watching when the cleaners were there one day, and it just was easy for them to do that, easy to access what they needed, and, it's just would be really nice.
It would be nice, like, I walk my dogs and they're so hot, I'd like to be able to get them a drink. Well, I bring my own now, but,
Well,
or kids on the park.
we used to have those functioning water fountains.
Well, now it would be nice to have like the water bottle filler.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what they have over there, is the water bottle filler, so it's,
No, it's a water fountain. It's just a water
Oh,
fountain.
it's just a water fountain? No, I thought it had the.
No.
I've seen them like at Acetique, they have the low one where you can, it's like
For
a
the
dog
patch.
bowl, you know what I mean, and you can turn the water on there, that would be great.
We
Yeah,
had to take the water fountains out because too many people threw too much stuff in there and clogged them all up and it
yeah,
broke.
you couldn't keep
But if we
it.
had bathrooms over there, would you have some type of camera?
No, not likely. Yeah, putting cameras on bathrooms gets into a very touchy area.
I don't
Even if
mean
it's just on the
I mean
exterior.
yeah.
Even if it's just on the exterior, it
Okay.
gets into a very touchy area, but not likely.
Okay, I was just curious.
It's just,
Well, I'm
that's
sure that
it,
the
that's the
police.
problem
Well,
of.
the ones that, across the road, they lock at 10 o'clock, is it?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
earlier
just lock
than
them.
that, yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have
that's-
automatic locks.
Over Henry Park, they lock at a certain time.
They could probably lock it dusk or, get the.
Yeah, they're automatic timers, and
Yeah.
the police don't even have to go over like they did for these here.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That would be a great.
So we won't know anything about that, at any rate for at
Yeah.
least a year.
Who does the application for the, grants?
Sorry?
You do that with the grant
Yes.
application?
Mhm.
I love you.
Is
Well-
that about what we, like,
Not my
for the
favorite.
one in Henry Park?
Yes.
The one at Henry Park ended up being more than that, I think. That was definitely a live and learn experience for
yeah.
all of us.
That's for sure.
That's based on the engineer's estimate.
Okay.
We would not, in all likelihood, we would not go with a prefab the way we
Right,
did.
yeah,
at
that
Henry
wasn't
Park.
what we thought it would.
No, it was not, it ended up not being.
Mhm.
And, the vendor on that particular project actually reached out to me a year or so later and, said that he had learned a lot as well.
Yeah.
So I guess some good came out of it.
Well, thank you taxpayers for providing that learning experience.
What happened to the bathroom, idea from before? Like, they were gonna, I think it was Laura Allen had said that they were going to be put in, like, anytime. Was that just misinformation?
I doubt if she ever said that. We've been
Maybe she
applying
did.
for grants to put those restrooms in for a number of years, but we've
Okay.
never been close to putting them in.
Henry Park, once we got the approval with everything in place for Henry Park, there was a mess of delays due to
Yeah.
weather and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It
No,
took a
no,
while
yeah.
before they could start those
Yeah.
projects.
We've
No,
never.
she said we're getting a bathroom there, and.
Well, that's it, eventually she'll be right.
Exactly.
So. It's a solid bet that eventually we will get
Well, then I
permanent
asked her where they were,
restrooms in
where they
Stevens Park.
were, and she said that we weren't getting them because they were gonna be a, security, like a safety hazard kind of thing.
You know, that is a balance, it is all a balance.
It is, and I will tell you that the restrooms at Henry Park have cost a considerable amount of money to maintain in the years since then.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. We've had to replace doors. We've had to alter the locks on the doors. We've had fires set.
I do think.
Public restrooms are very costly.
Yeah, and you know, it's, on one hand, you know, you're trying to improve a situation which, you know, it's important to have a restroom. But on the other hand, you know, it has been very costly, but it's something that of high value. People want a restroom, a real, that they can get in with their wheelchair or whatever, you know, they want that.
And you know, it's great just to have one, but I will not miss the porta pots there, because, you know, anybody that's coming down there, when you're downwind of it, it's terrible when you're running or walking or, so I think it would be great for the town.
Yes, that's our hope. Give us the money.
Bring it on.
The only other thing I really had was the Fall Just Walk, and I have reached out to the health department about whether they are thinking they're gonna do it or not, and haven't gotten a response, so it's still very much up in the air. In case you had not heard, the town will not be doing National Night Out this year. The National Committee had suggested moving into October 6th, which is the same day as the town's election, and the police department made the decision. It was because they play a much larger role actually on election day than people realize, and it was gonna be too much. So, I'll be in touch about Fall Just Walk. That's about all I can really say. The youth program, they've modified, like everybody else, how they're doing things. They've done a lot more, getting food to kids. Now that school is, I guess, gonna be back in session, everything, it's like we keep telling people, from week to week, things can change.
There's still a need, they're still fulfilling that need.
Yes.
And, Lord love them, I'm glad that there's something there.
Right.
That's all we can do.
And then, obviously, there really aren't any updates on, Heron Park either. We have not heard anything more from the EPA or MDE, still waiting for that. And that's about all I've got. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
For all of your grant writing and doing all the research for all the benches and,
It'll be lovely when we can start doing things in the park.
Yeah.
Moving forward with it, but heck, we don't have to have anything for them to give us money.
Or the, on Herring Run Park, or Herring Park.
You're not involved right
No, no. Used to play the concerts down there too many times. I spoke with G 2 weeks ago and Jeff about 3 weeks ago. I suggested that we fold the commission, the advisory board up over there, but I don't feel, being part of the commission here, that I should make the motion on that meeting. Jeff kind of feels the same way because of the extenuating circumstances that we've had over the past year. There's nothing more that the advisory committee there can do.
At this point, no.
So we'll see where it goes from here.
And it would not be wise to try to do any development on that land until we know what's gonna happen.
Right.
Planning can certainly be done and have kind of ideas sort of ready to try to move on once things are resolved, but until the EPA, NDE situation is resolved.
Just not knowing what kinds of
Yeah.
activities we can do.
Yeah.
Will there be, I don't know, will it be able to be a passive park? or might the whole thing be shut down? I'm just
Oh,
wondering.
no, I don't
Okay,
think there's any fear of that.
Okay,
The clean, it is clean.
Yeah, that's
The
what I
cleanup
thought.
is done.
But what you're discussing is further development would rest on what the EPA and all of that.
What I'm discussing is the town does not know financially
Ah,
what
yeah,
the impact of this is gonna be.
gotcha, okay.
Um,
But we can still plan nature type of things, you know,
Sure.
observing and all
Yeah.
of that, and getting rid
I
of the
just-
invasives
yeah,
and,
yeah.
but yeah.
Well, when they do the bird walks, I mean, that's.
Oh, I know they do
very
nice bird
popular,
walks.
Very
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah,
Helen's done a couple of them. Yeah.
oh, yeah, that's wonderful. But, you know, enhancements for that, because that is like the main activity that's going on there, regular activity of the bird walks. So enhancement of that, I guess, is the only thing that we can really think of doing at this
well,
moment.
that kind of thing can be done as is.
As is, that's
Yeah.
exactly what that's what I was questioning, to be sure that we could in fact, you know, depending on who decides what, but that it is a possibility that these activities that the committee had started doing can continue. I just wasn't sure if there was some big red flag out there. 'Cause
No, the park has been open to.
yeah,
yeah.
I thought so.
It's-
That's
the
why I was
cleanup
just
is
a
done.
little concerned with what you were talking about. I was misunderstanding, because I thought the park was fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I did not mean it in that way. I
Okay,
didn't mean
I
it
just-
was a safety issue, just
Future
there's so
planning
much,
issue.
there's so much at question.
Yes, $500,000 just to start putting up a $30,000 building. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I see now, it's dollars that we're talking about.
Close it down, maybe we should invite, the chair lady should maybe come and give us a final report or something, or prepare
Oh, yeah.
one.
Well, I think we'll have to wait and see what
Yeah,
happens.
and that's kind of, to me, it's just, yeah, it's a wait and see at this
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
I think, we, at some point, something may or may not change.
Yeah.
And if it does,
Right.
then
Yeah.
we'll be prepared for it.
Right, it's just a little too up in the air right now.
Yeah.
Are they still, soliciting bids for demolition over there on the building itself?
No,
No?
they've never tried to bid that out. They did that structural report,
That was
to
my
get,
one.
to get some ideas of whether it could be rehabbed, whether it needed to be demoed, but they've not, moved forward with that at all.
And also the group, the grant for having it removed. There was some type of grant that, right before Laura left, something about, there was a grant possibly for taking it down because it's an eyesore, it's a hazard and all that. She said something about an urban grant or something.
It's a possibility, but if it was applied for, it might have been applied for through Ivy's office, if it was not successful.
So we're, you know, but yeah, so I think it would be nice if we continue, if the town continues to look at all possible grants to help us with that property. I mean, you know, whoever's in charge of it, at whatever time, I'm sure that they'll apply. I mean, that's what every small town is doing, clamoring for those dollars, you know.
Has Dave said any more on the trails and rails?
Not that I'm
Since we've not
aware
had
of.
any meetings, usually he would tell us at our meeting.
No, not that I'm
Trails
aware of.
and rails.
You have to realize that with the state, even now, a lot of their employees are still working remotely.
Oh, yeah.
If it's not urgent, it's just not moving at this point. There are a lot of things that should have been or could have been resolved by now that just haven't been because so many offices are working on such modified schedules, and that's still the case. So,
Very exciting. It's something to look forward to. So. Well, you'll be busy October 6th, I know that.
well, yeah, I mean, me not so much, it's the leading up to, but.
Oh, the
Typically.
5th, you're gonna be
Yeah.
very busy.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I move we adjourn. And you have us, just to reiterate, you have on here that we're scheduled for November 3rd.
That's what we're scheduled for, you know,
Yeah, no, I just wanted to reiterate,
That's-
that I saw it on the front, that we had scheduled it, let's, you know.
yeah, that would be, right, that would be our next normal.
We will be
schedule.
here November 3rd, dear, we will still be here.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, good to see everybody.
You too. Have a good long weekend.
Well, I know you all have been waiting with bated breath to find out if the Comic-Con is gonna go. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. There's no way that you could socially distance, be safe, and, I mean, the mask that those kids want to wear, not the same mask that